Okay, so ancient Greece. This is a tough conversation. Thank you for sticking with it. I hope you're continuing to watch these videos and you haven't just freaked out or anything. Ancient Greece is built on an unusual principle that is tough for modern day people to think about, and it's ugly and it's difficult. In ancient Greece, young men would would take older men as mentors, and the older men would have sex with the younger men while also teaching them all kinds of things that they should know about. What makes it different from being gay in modern day America is that these young men would have sex with the old men, and then when they got to be a certain age, they would then find a wife, get married, have children, grow old, and then when they were older men, would then have young boys to have sex with and teach, and the pattern continued. What makes it ugly is that these kids were what we would think, the young men in this case would not probably be what we would consider to be adults. It's not like they hit the age of 18 and started this process. And so a lot of the sort of ancient Greek sexual practices would sort of fall under the heading of what we'd consider to be pedophilia, which is a little difficult. I don't know, it's a different world, and that's how they did things. So that is what they are talking about. Now, I don't think it doesn't really come into this because it's not like this book is about having sex with underage people, which is statutory rape. Don't do that. It's not like that's what the book is about. The book is about love and the irrational power of love. But like it's one of the funny things that's happening in the book that's strange is that Socrates and Phaedrus, and again, Socrates is an older man and Phaedrus is a younger man. How old is Phaedrus? I don't know. I think if he's that interested in famous speeches, he seems like he's a little older. He's not like a little kid or anything. I mean, he seems like an adult to me, but I don't know if he would have been. He's not young, but I don't. Is he 18? I don't know. Socrates is kind of flirting with Phaedrus a little bit, and Phaedrus is flirting with Socrates back. Now, this is not going to turn into a sex thing. What's interesting about what happens next, and I'll give you a little preview about where this is going. Socrates is not interested in sex with Phaedrus, and actually, Socrates is against. This is the tricky thing. Socrates is against sex totally. He's against heterosexual sex. He's against gay sex. He's actually against sex. Plato is against sex. This is not going to become a whole book about sex with people under the age of 18. It's not a book. It's not a philosophy book about statutory rape. In fact, it's against that because Plato was against sex. You may actually already know that Plato is against sex. How do you know this? Have you ever heard the term platonic friendship? Platonic friendship. What is a platonic friendship? A platonic friendship, which traditionally we would use to describe back when heterosexuality was sort of the default. Platonic friendship would be like you're a woman and you have a boyfriend, right? But then you have another friend who's a guy, and your boyfriend is like, "Oh, I'm worried about this friend of yours that's a guy. Are you having sex with him?" And you'd be like, "No. It's just a platonic friendship," meaning you're just best buds, but you never actually have sex. Why is that called a platonic friendship? Because Plato's against sex. You can kind of, and again, so it's not really a thing about men having sex with men having sex with women, older people having sex with underage people. It's not really about that because Plato's against all of that. Because what Plato was interested is in the mind and words and higher heavenly truth. Plato is a brain guy. Plato is a book guy, a word guy, a brain guy. And as you'll discover, he's not really a body guy. He's not interested in physical things, which he feels like are bad and distracting. You can already see this in Socrates' definition of love, where he talks about desire. He says you have a desire for pleasure. And you also have that you were born with, and then you have a desire for what is best that you learn later on. So for Plato, all the people having sex are following the desire for pleasure, and that's not what he wants you to be doing, because you remember he defines that as excess, and that's bad, and he compares it to gluttons and alcoholics and drug addicts and stuff. He's interested in following what is best. Well, it turns out for Plato, surprise, surprise, he's a philosopher. Guess what he thinks is best? philosophy. So he feels like sex is a distraction from these things. So the book is not about sex, and it's certainly not about statutory rape. And in it's tricky, but you should understand this about ancient Greece. It's one of the foundations of civilization. These guys kind of invented democracy and invented a lot of the world that we live in. And so it's something complex and difficult. And it's also I think in many ways this is the most important lesson you will learn this semester. And I'll tell you to you right now, which is that your ideas about the world you think of as being universally true across time and space. But when you study other places and other times, what you will discover is things are different in different places, and things are different at different times. And so you cannot just be like, oh, Socrates is gay, Phaedrus is gay, Lysias is gay. Gay, if you mean are they having sex with men, yeah, they've done that. But if you mean have they devoted their life to men and being in romantic relationships with men their whole life instead of women, that's not correct. Socrates had a wife, and people had children, even though they also had these kinds of gay male relationships. But we don't. It's a hard thing to wrap your mind around. But the knowledge that you have about the world is local. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. I had a friend of mine whose job was to sell yachts, big boats. So he sold yachts to like millionaires and rap stars and shit, right? And then his company was like, you know what? We got to go elsewhere because we've sold so many of these boats, these fancy boats in America. There's all these new millionaires in China. Let's sell them some yachts. So they went to China to sell yachts. So my friend goes to China to sell yachts, and they get out there, and the Chinese don't like them. They don't want to get on the yacht. And he tries to get them on, oh, this is fun. This is great. It's so cool. Come on the yacht. And they get on the boat. And you know how yachts have like a cabin inside? All the Chinese businessmen, these like rich people, he's like, come on out, get on the deck and get some sun and fishing and like relax, soak up the rays. They don't want to. They stay in the cabin and they don't really want to come out. And so the question is why? Like, what's the problem? Like for rich people in America, yachts are like this big, people love it. It's power. Rap stars on a yacht. That means you won. You got a fucking giant boat. It's cool. You can have parties on there and soak up the rays. It's fun. What he discovered was that in China, the reason that the Chinese businessmen didn't want to be out on the deck of the yacht, and for a lot of Americans, this is confusing, they didn't want to get a suntan. Why? Why would they don't want to get a suntan? Why not? Because in America, having a suntan, if you're a rich guy with a suntan, it means that you're so rich you can afford to relax on the finest beaches in the world or sit on the deck of your yacht just sunbathing, and you don't have to work your life. You're so successful you can just chill out and party all the time in the sunshine and the waves, and it's nice. Well, in China, if you have a tan, it means that you are a farmer or a fisherman and you are poor. And so the Chinese businessmen don't want to get tans because if they get them, everyone's going to think they're poor. And this, by the way, when you're walking around New York City, if you go to Chinatown in August, you will see a lot of cute little Chinese old ladies, and they have umbrellas in the sun. Why? Because they don't want to get a tan, because in that culture, tan means farmer, fisherman, poor. And in our culture, a tan means you're so rich you can hang out by the beach all day and just enjoy life in Hawaii. Obviously, I'm referring to white people also. It's complicated. But the point is that the mean tan, you think tan means successful. No, it doesn't. Over here, it means the opposite. In China, it means the opposite of success. So it's just complicated. So like the thing about gay people, you take the idea of a tan, you move it from China to America, it changes meaning. You take the meaning of queer in modern day America and you take it back to ancient Greece and it means something. It just doesn't work over there because it's a different culture. So it's worth understanding that your knowledge of the world is limited in time and limited in space. What you think of as normal is normal in this part of the world, in this decade, in this century. But it's not normal if you go to a different country far, far away, or you go back in time. And if you do both, if you go to Greece and then back it up 2,500 years, world's going to look real different. So when Socrates and Phaedrus are talking about love, they are talking about men loving men and men having sex with men. So anyway, that's life. Welcome to the world. College. All right, I'll see you in the next video.